Okay, so as I said, welcome everybody. As we has already 2 weeks ago, we released our new releases Simplifier 9 and Maker's Choice 2411. I think the Maker's Choice might have surprised the one else, as we didn't talk about Maker's Choice before, so it's a really new term we brought into here, but bring into some light into it today, and hopefully we can answer all your questions on that. So before we go into the content, who is talking to you today and who is there for your questions? So on the one side, that's myself, Andreas. I'm the head of product management, and for my assistants, I've with me Benjamin Wiese. He's our product owner, and we both are in operational charge of developing Simplifier in here. So I think that's the right guess that we help you out here today. So when looking on today's topics, we have 5 agenda points with us. We have the release highlights, so we'll go brief on what has come with Simplifier 9, especially. Then we come to the part, why is there a Maker's Choice release? What is it? So we go and talk about our new improved release cycle. We introduce also a feature life cycle we want to show you or to present you. Then we have the main part, that's the questions and answers part. And we will give you a short outlook on the topics we are currently working on, so get a bit an feeling on what to expect next. And as I said, if you have any questions, feel free. There's the F&A or Q&A feature within this Teams here, and just ask your questions. Hopefully, everybody has already looked into the release notes. Here, just to be safe, again, the links to the release notes and the screenshots, we don't want to go into that in details today. Especially for release 9, we have summed up all the changes. We go quickly through in a second. If you want to have more information, feel free to watch the video. Feel free to read the release notes in a minute and then take your time. There's much to explore, I think, and many changes we have implemented in that. But for today, Ben will give you a bit more details, but on a high level on our release highlights.
Yes, also from my side, welcome everybody and thanks for joining. Yes, I want to quickly go over the most important highlights that we see in Simplifier Release 9. I think most of you already read the release notes with the highlights, so I think I will not go into too much detail, but later, of course, if you have questions, that's why we're here, ready to talk about that. So as you know, Simplifier is released in 2 tracks. We have the EHP, which stands for Enhancement Package track, and then we have the major release track. There's some changes here, which we communicate via email, and in a minute we'll talk in detail more about that. But yeah, looking back at the past EHP releases since the last Simplifier major release, which was Simplifier 8, we have these highlights. So the first one is the workflow parallel split. So with this in the workflow, we're able to in parallel execute several 2 or more workflows inside one parent workflow, which means you can have several user tasks that are active at the same time. That's what we released with the first enhancement package for Simplifier 8. In the second one, the highlight was the so-called binding editor, which enables app builders to do a simplified formatting and display of data using the typical drag and drop functionality and shapes that you know from other places in Simplifier. And here the advantage is that you don't have to have any knowledge about detailed UR5 binding syntax, but can work visually here, at least for the most common use cases. What we also did with EHP2 was optimize business objects. On the one hand, we updated them so it's now compatible with ECMA 2022. And we also released a feature here for dynamic calling of business objects. So this means that you do not have to hard code the name of the business object you want to call, but instead you can dynamically determine which object you want to call. So this is interesting for some integration layer use cases that we see. So this is why we released this feature. Also in the same EHP, what we released was several improvements regarding the transport system. One was regarding performance, but the other one was related to remote transports. So now it's possible that you use SSO for authentication when using the remote transport feature. Previously, this was not possible. And in the next two releases, the highlight was the so-called principal propagation for the sub-BTP. So very briefly explained for those who are not in the sub-BTP environment, this means that when you have your Simplifier apps deployed to the sub-BTP, which is the business technology platform of SAP, and you want to have a very seamless integration for your app users, you can enable the principal propagation, which means that the users will authenticate in the BTP work zone. And then when they launch a Simplifier app from there, they are already automatically authenticated in the Simplifier app without any additional steps for the user. Yes, the next highlight is the multilingual support. Specifically, or mainly, this was focused on workflows. So what we did here is that in contrast to the features that you know in the app builder for building apps that are multilingual, where you have these PO files that you have to upload in the app designer, what we did with the workflows was a different approach. Here we built an in-app translation editor where you don't have to export and import any files, but you can directly inside Simplifier create the translations. Of course, additionally, you can and import files as well. So both workflows are supported here. So what we also did here that if you choose to translate your workflow to one of the 37 languages that Simplifier supports, now also the Simplifier Launchpad and the workflow inbox also support these 37 languages. So they are shipped with these translations included. And with this, the users have like a full immersion and kind of consistency in the translations. And last but not least, what we did, we launched our Simplifier Designer. With this, it's really easy to style your applications according to your CI. So you can very easily choose primary, secondary colors, or typography and these kinds of things. And it makes it really, really easy and quick for you to do this. Yes, so this was released in the EHP4. Okay, I think we covered everything, Andreas, so you can continue to the next one. Yes, so that's what I already said. We talk a little bit more in detail now. And Andreas also mentioned it, that our release strategy was a bit improved. So one thing is simply a matter of wording. Yeah, so what we previously called enhancement packages, we now call Maker's Choice releases. And what we previously called so-called major releases, we now call Simplifier LTS or long-term support releases. The reason for this is that, previously it was quite confusing, this naming. So many people, rightly so, thought that a major release is a major release in the sense that their new features are added, but really the major releases were just the accumulated features of the previous EHPs, right? So we try to express this more with this wording now. What's a very important change is that the Maker's Choice releases, or previously EHP releases, are now fixed in their release cycle. So this means that we have determined that every 8 weeks we will release a new Maker's Choice release. So that's totally deterministic. You can look it up in our Makers Club. There's a list of the next releases coming up with the exact date, so you can, upfront already know exactly when the next release will be published. The naming for the Maker's Choices releases is quite simple. So it's always these 4 digits. So for example, the 2411 means that this Maker's Choice release was released in November of 2024. And I think this makes it also very easy to identify. And so the LTS track for Simplifier, like I said, will be very similar to the previous major releases. So we will release one LTS release per year. It would always be from the content or from the features would be the same as a maker's choice that we release in the same time. But the difference is that when you choose to go with the LTS, that you are able to stay on this release for 1 year until the next LTS release is released, and we guarantee support with quality updates during that time. Of course, you don't get any feature updates when you're on the LTS track. So yeah, you have to think about which track is best suited for your use cases, or for your context. Yes, so we already now called this current release Maker's Choice 2411, and the next one will be 2501, and you see here the release date already. It will be 15th of January. Yes, everything that I said and a lot more details, also some frequently asked questions around all of this, we have up on the Makers Club, so feel free to look there. And yeah, if there's still any open questions, feel free to ask them today or send us a message. Let's see. Yeah, I think that was most important. Yeah, I mean, what didn't change was the end of maintenance, that we have this overlap between two LTS releases of 3 months. So you already know this from previous releases, and that remains. Yeah, and for the Maker's Choice, it's just like for EHP, that once we release a new Maker's Choice release, the support for the previous one ends. So no change there.
Maybe one small addition on that. So as Ben mentioned, the confusion that there was on all sides. So every customer can really choose which release option fits best for him. So without context, you would say we don't know any topics where you shouldn't go with Maker's Choice, but there are examples. Maybe you have critical shop floor apps that should have at least as few changes as possible per year. So then maybe the long-term support version is then better for your cases. If there's any help you need on identifying which is the best option for you, just contact our customer success team into the topic as well as we are, and they can help you with finding the right option for you. The only thing we would ask you is if it should be really a decision for one of these options. You can switch, but it's not like cherry picking. So what we don't really support is when you say, okay, I like the Maker's Choice 2411, but maybe I don't like then the Maker's Choice 2501. Then you have to stick to the Maker's Choice until there's the next long-term support. So this should be taken into consideration. That there's some restrictions on that, but I think there's for both or for all customers there's a fitting option in there, and just if you need help, as I said, just contact us or our customer success team.
Okay, yeah, I also want to talk about something we improved and want to make more explicit and known, which is called the feature lifecycle. So what we did here is more clearly than we did previously define the states that Simplifier features can have, and try to, on the one hand, make this a little bit more flexible, and on the other hand, give us the chance and you the chance to try out features that are not officially released yet, but are already usable and also valuable usually. And this means you can get value for some features earlier. We can get feedback on features that are not 100% implemented yet. And I think this is kind of a win-win situation. So what does this concretely mean? It means that in some cases, we might decide that a feature is maybe not 100% finished, but it's in a state where we can already include it in Simplifier in the so-called experimental state. This state means that we don't recommend it for productive usage. Of course, by default, it's not enabled. Yeah, you can enable it if you choose to. So for example, already in this release, we released the experimental feature where we adapt the favicon in the browser tab in the admin UI of Simplifier according to where you are. So when you're, for example, in the business object editor, you will see a business object icon, and you will also see the name of the business object you're editing, and you will also be a color indication see on which instance you are. However, this feature is not 100% finished in the sense we have to optimize the icons a little bit, and also not every area currently has its own icon. Yeah, but still we decided this is already now available for our customers if they want to use it. So we encourage you to try it out on your dev instances, and please give us feedback because we are still working on it and can improve it. Yeah, so we do already support experimental features, yeah, just without the SLA and not on productive instances. The next state would be what we call in preview. So for some features, we might say, okay, this feature is already so far that it is ready for productive usage. We do fully support it, but maybe there are some corner cases that are not fully covered yet, and we don't feel comfortable with officially releasing it. So in the in preview state, it's still by default turned off. You can choose to turn it on. You get full support, like I said, and yeah, also here can give us feedback. And then the next state is the so-called release state, which is like the normal state that you get for Simplifier features. They're just part of the release. They are turned on by default, and of course fully supported and everything like today. Yeah. So this does not mean that every feature will go through these states. So on the contrary, only some features will go through these states. We will use it where we see it suitable and makes sense for us, and also for you to give you the chance to early on already profit from these features. You also see a deprecated state. Of course, optimally, this state is not reached for a feature, but to make the lifecycle complete, we showed here because sometimes it's necessary to deprecate certain features for technical reasons usually. And this is something that we can then flag as deprecated. And here, of course, give our customers possibility to migrate to alternatives and help them out here to move away from deprecated features before they are removed at some point later in time. Yes, I think that wraps basically everything up. Let me see if I missed anything here. Yeah, maybe regarding documentation, could be that for experimental and in preview features, they're maybe not fully documented yet. Yeah, so that's one point. Okay, good. Yeah. So let's go to the next slide.
The next slide already is our question part.
Exactly.
So we are through with the presentation part and the one-way part. So what I would do right now is I would activate the microphones or enable the microphones. I think everybody is still muted, so if you want to ask your question, just unmute yourself or write in the Q&A part. There is already one question from Michael. I've already answered, but maybe some more information on that. So as you have seen, noticed here, we're developing features quite over time, and there are also features that we don't finish in one Maker's Choice release or all the enhancement package, but will need some time till we say it's finally with all the sub features we want to have. It was already reusable before and had values, but we finished. So we always try to find the best moment in the year when we say now it's in zone. That's the set that's relevant as could be published as LTS. So that's why we don't have yet decided when we will release the next LTS version. So that will be Simplifier 10 then in that case. So when you look here, so we know all the Maker's Choice release coming, and quite a time ahead. For next LTS, we'll inform you. So with which Maker's Choice release next year, we will also publish the next LTS version. Hopefully, Michael, your question is answered with that.
Yes, thank you.
And there's the next question. As always, we have all the migrations, or then the published version, all the migrations with us. So you can directly migrate from an 8.1 or 8 HP1 to an Maker's Choice, or even from release 7. The only thing you have to keep in mind, so that's all stated in the release notes, is if there are any manual steps that has to be done. So like there were maybe some changes and you have to react to the changes. These have to be done, but from technical side, from the migration part and the update part, you can directly migrate from normally any version, unless other stated, to the current versions. So you can also directly migrate from 8 HP3 to Simplifier 9, for example. Are there any other questions?
There's one question in the chat regarding one feature that we marked as deprecated, which is this event tab in the UI designer. That's correct, it was deprecated. And the question is if there will be a support script to find the usage of where this feature is used. Yes, so that's what I meant with we want to support our customers in migrating away from deprecated features. So we will think of some way where you can find these occurrences. So you know exactly in which apps you have to go and in which places you have to adapt some things in order for the app to still work after the feature is removed. So answer is yes, we will have something to give you in your hands. Yeah. Okay, any further questions?
Especially if there are questions to our new release cycle. If there's something unclear, feel free to ask us. We'll be happy to answer all your questions. So hopefully we were that clear with our communication in beforehand, and now that all the questions have been answered, I would say then we switch to the to look ahead. If afterwards there are any questions coming up, just feel free to contact Ben, contact me, or contact our customer success team. We'll be there for you to answer your questions, right? Okay. So then let's step forward. Ben.
Yes, I want to give you a bit of a sneak peek of what we're working on, what we're planning to do in the future releases. And one of these topics is a really big one, which is we want to, entirely rebuild the preview in the app designer. We will build it on an entirely new architecture. And before we actually do that, what we're now started working on is building this new architecture. And also this means that the app generator will actually use UI5 2.0, at least at some point in the future. We're preparing for that for the business apps. And this will enable us to build the preview on new architecture and really improve the performance and stability of our app designer preview here. But like I said, for that, we have a lot of groundwork to cover first, lay the technical foundation. So for example, we will move from JSON views to XML views, which is demanded for the newer UI5 versions. And that will be quite of effort, but I think it will pay off because, like I said, the preview will be a lot better built on this new foundation. Something else we're working on is to improve the single sign-on user experience on our mobile clients for iOS and Android. It's something that if you are using this mobile client, you know about it. It's very fiddly, and especially for new users, they're often a little bit confused. And we really want to improve the general usability of this feature here. Something else we've been working on and will still work on because it's quite a complex feature is a self-service for mobile standalone apps. So today, if you want to build a mobile standalone app with a Simplifier app, you have to contact us and we will build it for you. And this is not ideal for us, not ideal for you. So what we want to do is integrate a feature where you can fully on your own build and also deploy mobile standalone apps for Simplifier applications. So yeah, like I said, it's a really big feature and we are working on it. And finally, yeah, give a little bit of a heads up. We have some more really cool use cases with I-infused apps coming up. So yeah, really stay tuned and take a look once we release those. We will inform you about it. Yes, so that's it for the sneak peek.
Okay.
Did we get any questions in the meantime anymore?
I haven't seen one.
Not.
Yeah. Then before we come to the end, okay, Christopher is asked about Git. This is something we have in our backlog. So this is something for the IT professionals. We have a lot of them working with Simplifier. That is indeed something we are looking on. But first, so there's some technical stuff that is going a bit deeper to have these improvements in the preview designer, in the preview from the app designer. So this is something that will take some time. So we'll focus on that, and then this will, as it is really as you said, an upvoted feature. This is something that will be afterwards. Then one of the high priority features. We will look into it. Okay. So, as we told you, we have a fixed release cycle now with 8-week releases. We already know all the Maker's Choice releases for the next year. We thought it would be a great idea to also already giving us some plan ahead what we do with our webinars in future. So we will do them now also in the same cycle as the Maker's Choice releases. We'll switch the next ones to the release date. So we'll then put more focus also on the content of the release or what was new there. So we will have every 8 weeks some news from us. We'll also add to the webinar what's new with Simplifier part. So you can that's a great place, I think, then for you to get all the information, what's happening around Simplifier, what's great news we have, and to be on track. And yeah, so when going ahead, I think we have Ben a little survey provided before we say goodbye. What I would really like to have is some always feedback. So one of the questions we would like, or one of the feedback we would like to have is sort of, how did you find the webinar? Did it help you understanding all the topics? And especially as we always want to know is how we should hand over the information from there is a new release and what's the content of the new release. If the way we decided to do this this year, is that fine for you? Is it all relevant? Do you have ideas on how to give information in other ways so it arrives you better? So that's sort of feedback. Ben, do you have the poll? Yeah, I think.
Give me a second.
So then, we'll give him a second. So in the meanwhile, is there any other question coming up, or now there's a poll coming up? So it would be great if you could take the short time to answer the poll. That would really help us in getting better in that cases and to even give you more valuable information on that.
Yeah, it's just 2 questions, 1 multiple choice and 1 text. So would be very grateful for your input here to improve it.
To all who already have answered the poll, or to everybody in the room, thanks for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you here in the call. Hopefully you got all your questions answered. As I said, if there are any questions coming up later on, just feel free to ask us. Have a nice rest of the week, and keep calm and simplify. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.